All right, hey guys, and welcome back. Today I've got a very cheesy, cheeky, interesting, but a little bit peculiar, maybe, movie review. This movie is called The Kid Who Would Be King. It is quite a very different approach to the classic Sword in the Stone story, I believe. Now, this movie, first of all, was really fun because it had a very young cast for the most part. The Kid Who Would Be King features a group of kids from a school, and what happens is one of them turns out to be able to pull the sword from the stone, as the tale normally goes. And as it turns out, he is the legendary kind of um, heir to the throne, but he is not linked by bloodline. The story tells you that anyone could be the king, so long as they are noble, and etc. etc. He doesn't necessarily have to be the blood of the king, which is a concept I really liked because that's the way I look at things normally. I feel that royalty should not be a bloodline thing at all in the first place. But they made it so because of convenience, I guess. It's easier to teach your own children than to teach others. But that's for another day. So the story starts off with this kid on the left who is the one who will be king, and his friend is on the right. And his friend is this is like his closest friend. And the two of them grew up reading these stories about King Arthur and so on and so forth. Of course, the kid on the left more so than the one on the right, but they both get the general idea of the story. And it kind of builds from there, where there is one night when he gets chased by these two bullies from school. This is his school, and these are the bullies. And they kind of rough his friend up, so he goes to defend them. They defend his friend, and then they try to threaten him, and they catch up to him after school. And as it turns out, he runs to a junkyard where he finds a sword in the stone, and he manages to get it off. And right after that, a chain of events take place where he gets like chased after by these evil entities that rise from the ground, and the story takes a much more darker tone from there. Despite the menacing looks of the enemies and how dark the atmosphere is when they arise, because they mostly come at night. Despite all that, the movie has a very general light tone. It's comedy centric. It has a lot of quick dialogues, kind of cheesy ones, such as the part where they'll ask this girl, "Where do you learn to drive?" and she says, "Mario Kart." It's all just little comedy references that I mean, honestly, could you learn driving by playing Mario Kart? I don't think so, but the movie kind of puts himself it's at the position where it says that I'm a kind of cheesy movie about all these cheesy characters, and that's what the whole movie is about basically. And so these kids kind of team up, and they become like the knights, of for King Arthur, and King Arthur kind of tries to lead them. Just the three of these kids. It's not a much of an army, but this is how the story goes. And they meet with this guy who is apparently Merlin, and I know he looks young. This is his actual form. Is played by um, Sir. Oh God, what's his name? Hang on, let me just look that up so that I don't embarrass myself. Patrick Stewart, yeah. So Sir Patrick Stewart plays this character, but he's in here for like a very short part, barely 10 minutes of the film, barely five probably. Most of the time you see this guy who's taking the face of Merlin. Apparently, Merlin has a kind of ability that I don't know if it's an ability or just his nature, but he grows younger as time goes on, and every now and then he turns into this form. I don't really know how that works, but it doesn't really matter because it's also mostly for comedy. Merlin spends most of his time turned into a kind of little eagle-like creature and flutters around whenever he needs to get in and out of places, and then he turns back to this form when he is planning to have a chat or cast abilities and so on and so forth. He only turns into the old man to intimidate people or to like prove his point, because apparently that helps. But yeah, Merlin is not really a major part of the film. He is a very important part of the film because he's the one who guides and nurtures the characters to where they're gonna go. But these kids really carried the film. Like it was mostly just them with their quick dialogues, with their quick-paced action moments, and this is not a heavy action-packed film. It's mostly just a bunch of kids trying to figure out if they're doing the right thing, and this kid who is apparently supposed to be King Arthur, trying to figure out whether he's actually who they believe he's supposed to be, or whether it's all an accident. The kind of I'm not supposed to be the superhero dilemma, you know. And the movie goes on from there, and their idea is to try to defeat this Morgana, who, as some of you may know, is the sister of the previous legendary King Arthur, and she is a powerful witch, sorceress, and she can actually keep up with Merlin's abilities, but she relies a lot on dark magic and so on and so forth. But even without prior knowledge, they quite well put out the point. But I guess having some knowledge about it also just gives you a nod to, yes, this is Morgana, this is how it's going to be. But the way I see it, it's pointless because this could have been a story on its own about a whole new character and what's or not, and it would have still been fine. But I guess the author thing is just to kind of bring about the feeling of nostalgic British, lore. Maybe that's the thing they wanted to feed because they want kids to like the kind of stories a bit better. Because this movie is very British, like from the get-go. You can tell how British it is from the atmosphere, the characters, the dialogues, and so on and so forth. But it was a really nice movie to watch. It was really nice to see these kids come together in a very conceptual team to help defend the kingdom. And then at the end, there's this very cheesy fight where they gather an army of school students with Merlin's mind control abilities, telling all the teachers to let the kids on a time off, and then the kids join them in an army and they try to defend against this dark evil entities. That part just kind of felt so unrealistic. I mean, it's not that the movie was any more realistic to begin with, but it's I get it. It's for kids, so it's kind of a kiddish movie. That's I guess the most you can expect from it. So graphics wise, the graphics were not too good. A lot of times you can see the fault in things, but the I guess the graphics were just necessary enough to carry the plot to where it's supposed to be, and it was mostly about these little kids and how they behave with each other, trying to understand why the other two were previously bullies and why they used to pick on his friend, and how he tries to tell the bullies that there's good in all of us and I need you to because you're strong, and they become a team and they kind of save the England and probably the rest of the world. So yeah, the music in this film was um, decent. I really like the parts when they travel and then there's this like very classic smooth tune that's playing in the background, trying to tell us about how the countryside feels like, and at the same time there's this adventurous tune to it telling you that we're going on an adventure, that kind of a feeling. Kind of reminds me of Narnia, a little bit of Harry Potter, and that's pretty much it. So I rate this movie a 5 out of 10. And I'm putting it right in the middle because it is a decent movie. It's not a movie that you would remember, probably not a movie that you would watch a second or third time, but it's a fun movie to watch. If you've got no qualms about a simple story that is. And at the same time, I really like the fact that they actually gave the opportunity to these kids to carry this film. And this is actually a very bright future and thought process, I would say, to movies similar to that of Narnia or Harry Potter, because we haven't seen those in a while. We haven't seen movies where the kids get to be the main characters and they do most of, the movie itself. So it's a nice opportunity, and it's really nice to see that these kids they can actually act. Of course, their emotional abilities may not be as good as that of the adults, and having big actors like Sir Sir Patrick Stewart, where is he? Sir Patrick Stewart in it, kind of makes you expect more from him than the kids, but they're kind of still telling you that it's about the kids. It's what it's about, and it's a nice story to watch. So yep, that's my rating. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. I would have given it a 4 if I were to compare it as an action film, but I can't look at it that way because this is not an action film. This is more about a story of a bunch of kids just trying to figure out who they are, and it's a growing up or coming of age kind of tale about a little kid who apparently turns out to be King Arthur. So yep, that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you guys thought about this film. And if you haven't checked it out, do check it out. It's cheesy, but it's a nice movie to watch. So yeah, adios.